Welcome back to Streamline Entertainment. We're going to go into a video by Mary Anna. Let's get straight into this.
What's happening, TikTokers? I hope you're well and I hope you're having a fantastic Monday. We're going to discuss the case that broke the nation, the case that was broadcasted worldwide, the case where they requested everyone's help as much as possible. And this case is the Jay Slater case. I genuinely don't understand why the family hadn't used a private investigator. Mark Williams Thomas reached out to Debbie to see if he could work with them. He didn't get paid for this by the family to look into this. But let's not forget, when Mark Williams Thomas was posting out information, Debbie Duncan disagreed with every single article. She wasn't happy with what was disclosed. But another thing...
I was just talking about this the other day. The sort of agreement between MWT and Debbie. I think the information that MWT went back to Debbie with told her that there were rugs and gangs involved. And I don't think Debbie wants to go down that route and didn't want this to be in the documentary. That's the feeling I've got. And this is why I think Debbie distanced herself talking to MWT or him having anything to do with the film that came out on Jay.
I don't understand. So you had out there Luggy and Chris Tenerife. They were out there going through the ravines, helping where they can. And Chris Tenerife, he put a lot of graft into it, didn't he? He helped a lot. But so did Down the Rapids too. And then he got told to leave quite abruptly. Do you remember that? Straight after, on that evening.
The thing about Down the Rapids, he left in an abrupt way and was scared. And he never really told us until he was speaking to Rachel Hargreaves, or someone told him from the group, the accident group, to come back out and say that, nothing, Jay's death was just an accident, nothing else. And he said it quite abruptly. Don't forget, we hadn't heard from him for months. I know he'd been traveling and helping out in other cases. I'm expecting for that, but I don't think DTR was true to himself, because, like I said, I think he knew information and didn't want to share it because he was scared.
Where he documented a video about the disturbance in Masca Mountains and clarified this has never happened before. This was also the night of England v Spain. But another point to press on, Jay Slater had previous altercation with Tom Hilton. But I found another article, and Jay Slater was kidnapped by 3 men in a car. And Debbie Duncan reached out to the media to make this statement. Now, I'm not trying to say anything negative towards Jay Slater. I'm just giving you a background of why Debbie Duncan might have said, if you've got him, let him go. Because that was her first ever interview on the media being published. The first thing she said, if you've got him, just let him go.
Don't forget as well, is that, like I said, a lot of us didn't really know what was going on to this case. And when you hear that, and obviously the message that she got, there's a connection there. I don't think people can come out and say, oh, like I said, it could have been someone being really nasty, a troll. But that early in a case, it did make sense. And what we know now with gangs and rugs and a feud going on, it makes sense big time. It really, really does. And that message always sticks with Debbie, as though it was ultimately meant what it meant.
Now, if you think someone's got your son, it makes sense if it's rug related. Setting up a GoFundMe, I mean, it's not really my cup of tea, but everyone's different. But the fact is, Jay Slater's best friend, Brad, his mum set up the initial GoFundMe. That was then closed down. I wonder why that was closed, because Lucy Law made one swiftly after. Now, what I don't understand...
The thing is, a good point, Mariana. What happened to the money on the first one? I mean, there's a possibility, was that money to release Brad, who also got taken as well? That's a possibility. Or was it for something else that, we will never know?
Is, and this is where it shows that maybe the family have been convinced it was a genuine fall. But let's not forget, when it came to the documentary, the coroner said you can't tell the difference between a push or a fall.
Many people have said that.
But if you firmly believe that it was a genuine accident and it was a fall, why would you keep the GoFundMe going? More to the...
And don't forget, that is open to the public as well.
point,
GoFundMe.
the documentary
Discuss.
was mainly aimed at the armchair detectives and online trolling. Not a single bit of awareness was put out there for all the youngsters going out on their first holiday or party holiday. Not a single bit of awareness was made. This is my video today. I've covered quite a few points there. I've got a few more, but like I said, this is my video today.
Great video by Mariana. Glad she's talking about it at the end of the day, and she's free to do that as well. Spiritual Journey says, I thought you wasn't allowed to post anything about Jay anymore, ? I'm going to do what I want, posting on basic facts that the public know anyway. Good point. Just want to read some of the reactions. Fair enough. Can't keep a good woman down, says Teresa. None of it makes any sense. Well, like I said, it's a big point between Debbie and MWT and what actually happened there, because she asked for his help. He went out there and obviously gathered a lot which was going on. And I don't think Debbie really wanted to mention that on the film documentary. I don't think she wanted him to say what he had to say, because I do think it'll start incriminating other people on that island that was involved in Jay's death. Let's move on to part 2, people. That was very interesting for Marianne. I thought she made some absolutely brilliant points there. And like I said, I think there was a lot more going on in Jay's life at home than what we first thought. And I don't think his mum knows half of it, to be honest with you, because we know what young lads are like, keeping things from their parents and when they're up to no good. It's as simple as that. This is something interesting by MWT before he put his podcast out.
Many of you know I went out to cover the case of Jay Slater, speaking to family, friends, witnesses, people who had contact with him either on the days leading up to his disappearance or on the day of his disappearance. I was very clear, having done an investigation, that I believe, this was prior to Jay's body being found, that there was no third-party involvement and it was most likely to be a tragic accident.
Well, he didn't really say that at the start, to be honest with you. You know, what I got from him, he was saying that there could be criminality into this case, but he couldn't prove her at the time. But like I said, he was the one that mentioned, obviously, Ruggs, bringing up his past, and also the national news as well. So there was a lot of things that he gave us speculation, I say.
That resulted in his disappearance and subsequent, obviously, death. I was right. Sad reality is he had a tragic accident and died. There was no third-party involvement. Anyway, my information, as I did the investigation throughout, I will turn into a podcast. The family are fully aware of that. And there is information I will release for the first time that people aren't aware of, which will provide some real insight into terms of how that investigation started and ended. Obviously, a very tragic outcome for Jay's family, and my thoughts remain with Debbie and the rest of the family.
Yeah, I think he did do a good job, MWT, to be honest with you. But like I said, I don't think he told us everything what he actually found out. I got a feeling he did his own podcast because he realised that Debbie, he asked Debbie, look, am I going to be a part of this documentary? And do you want me to release some of the information, which I found out? I think she said no to that. We're doing our own thing. We're going our own way. Thank you very much, MWT. But like I said, if you want to do something yourself, which, you know, don't forget in the early days, we thought it was going to be a documentary basically aired with what the BBC or Channel 4 or Sky or something like that. That didn't happen. I think he was basically denied that because of the Channel 4 documentary coming out with the family. And I believe that basically one of the reasons Debbie didn't want MWT on it is because, like I said, maybe some of the things that he mentioned or he found out, which he basically technically put out to the public as well. I think that was about all. She didn't trust him. Let me know what you think, people, because like I said, at one stage you thought they were kind of tight, and she was using MWT to find answers to what happened to her son. But I think he found too much, or did she know too much at the end of the day and she didn't want him to know anymore? That's just the feeling I've got. Let me know your thoughts, people. Don't forget to subscribe to Streamline Entertainment and follow the channel. Thank you.